PlayStation VR is a device that when I first tried it out completely wowed me. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, it also got me sick. I had a huge headache. I haven't tried it since then, but Moss, the PSVR game, came out recently, and a friend of mine on Twitter, Nick, you might know him as the former bunny or the creepy bunny, he knew I would really enjoy the game, so he hooked me up with a copy of the game. I want to thank him for that. He put his money where his mouth is and said, Rand, play this game, you're going to love it, do a review, I want to see your thoughts on Moss. So that is what I did. I played and finished Moss in 2 sittings, and wow, what an incredible experience, not only game-wise, but PSVR-wise. It might be, in fact, a reason to get PlayStation VR, a killer app, so to speak. But let's talk about my thoughts on the game. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Anyways, Moss is developed and published by Polyarc Inc. It retails for $30, and it's only available on PSVR, as I am aware. You play as Quill, who's a young mouse with dreams of greatness beyond the confines of her quiet forest settlement. One day, while exploring the woods, she finds a mysterious glass relic, and an ancient magic is awakened. Dramatic events quickly unfold as a distant evil extends its reach. With her uncle now in grave danger, Quill must embark on an epic journey, and she needs you there by your side. That's right, you have an actual... You're actually in the story. The game starts off with you sitting at a table, flipping through the pages of a book, and then you're transported to this beautiful world. And honestly, my mind was blown from the first time I started the game to the end. The game is about 4 hours long, but it is one of the best 4-hour experiences that you can imagine. And Quill is an amazing heroine, a great protagonist for people to get behind, cute, the animation she has. God, I couldn't imagine a better character for the game. And what really kind of sets this game apart is, like, yes, you are the reader, so you're actually sitting down reading the story as it takes place. And every time you come into a new area and then leave said area, you can hear the turn page. So it's like you're reading a story that's unfolding underneath you. And that's what's the really cool aspect, and why VR works so well in this game, is each area you come to is like a playset you're viewing from above. It's all 360-degree VR. You can stand up, look around. Everything's, you know, finely detailed. You can peer around objects and look everywhere. And you have to help Quill get to the next area. Sometimes there'll be enemies, and you have to dispatch them with a couple quick button presses of X. I mean, the combat's not deep, but I did find it enjoyable, you know, as the game 4-hour length time. I mean, it's not like Devil May Cry, but you only press X, and you can jump, but you do have some sort of control over what's going on in the game. You see, it's mostly a platforming puzzle game rather than a combat game. There are things you can interact with as the user, as the reader, so to speak. So Quill will come to an area, and she can't cross it, but there's a block that you can pull out for her. And you do that with the controller itself, tracked by the PlayStation camera. You move it towards this object. It'll glow like a blue color. You'll press the trigger, right trigger or left trigger, and then you can pull it. And that's pretty much how you solve most of the puzzles in the game. You look for something that can be interacted with by you, the reader, and you help Quill out so she can get to the next area and so forth and so on. You can even help her by enemies, because later on in the game you will get surrounded by a bunch of enemies, and you can use the controller to grab an enemy, move them around. In fact, you can even use them to attack other enemies depending on which type it is. I mean, there's the basic kind of these enemies are forged, but there's like a beetle that is your basic melee class. There's this other type of beetle that has a gun which you can actually use to shoot, and sometimes you need to use that to solve puzzles in the game. There's a ticker, which is like a bomb that explodes. I mean, it's a basic combat game with only a few different types of enemies, but they all work well. And sometimes you need to actually use the enemies to solve the puzzles. I can't stress enough how amazing this game was for me, and it's entirely due to VR. Not saying that the game outside of VR would have been bad. This would have been a really cool experience, but PSVR really took that base experience of Quill and elevated it. Like, guys, I can't... It's hard to describe what it's like sitting there with the PSVR on your face and having Quill and the land she has just come alive before you, where you can just honestly just stand there and look at it and be like, this is almost real. Like, I'm seeing her right there. Like, it just felt so good. You can interact with her. It's really tough to describe, and I know the gameplay here, which is captured directly from the PlayStation 4 Pro, doesn't probably do it justice. And the trailers on Sony's webpage for the game, they don't do it justice. The only way to truly understand Moss is to play it for yourself, right? Whether it's in the demo disc 2 or playing the game, you know, at $30 or waiting for a sale. I mean, it is book 1. We will be getting a sequel, and I will be there day 1 for Moss book 2, because that is how much I enjoyed this game. In fact, I've been mulling it over in my head, and I gotta give this game close to a 9. Now, would this game be a 9 without the PSVR? No, it probably wouldn't. This game without the PSVR would be a solid 8. It's a fun little platforming game with basic combat, cute, you know, little heroine, decent story and stuff like that. But the addition of PSVR, and maybe it's because it was my first time, my first true experience with PSVR, raised the game to a level where it was just the experience of going through and playing those 4 hours and consistently being wowed by new puzzles and new enemies and a boss fight and everything in the game, raised it up to that level of a 9 for me. Like, I adore this game. I hope one day we get a sequel for it. And if you own PSVR, please do yourself a favor and buy this game. It is a must-have PlayStation VR experience. It is a truly incredible game. Now is the question of, should you buy PSVR to just get Moss? That is a tough question, because PSVR is pretty expensive. Whether it's $200, $300, or $400, I'm not sure one game, especially one $30 game, is worth picking up at that point. But if you do have PSVR, if you're on the fence about whether or not it has any good games, play Moss. It might change your idea of a third-person VR game, you know, like working well. Because I've seen that complaint that, you know, if it's not in first person, then it shouldn't be in VR. But this was so good and such an amazing experience for me that I recommend it to anybody who has PlayStation VR. It is a must-play if you own it. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this review of Moss. I can't wait for the sequel. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button to show your support for the channel. Share it out on social media so we can get more people to discover the magic of Moss. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.